Hi there, this is Mega Ginge. Welcome back to the Ginger Transformer podcast. Today we're going to be talking about another one of the organic species that actually had a big impact in the Transformers universe. Ironically, not so much on the G1 series itself, but through most of the comic lore, they made quite a big impact. So we'll be talking about the Nebulons today. From the planet Nebulon or Nebulos, it really depends on the lore you read. And I'll be doing these in order of importance, from least important to most important Nebulon appearances throughout the lore for Generation 1. Starting off with the least important, where they were basically not mentioned at all, was in the Dreamwave continuity, the comic book continuity. We don't really ever see the Nebulons, given the timeline that the Dreamwave comics were in. It wouldn't have made sense to introduce them at any given point. However, in the War Within comic book series, we do see on one panel a brief glimpse of the future Optimus Prime and Megatron have been fighting down in the depths of Cybertron. Megatron pierces the Matrix and it shows them the future, a future which they, by the time the comic series ends, they've forgotten. First, they see themselves battling on Earth at Sherman Dam, Optimus and Megatron continuing to fight each other. Once again, Megatron tries to attack Prime, and once again, they're moved further into the future to see what appears to be at this point, desolate looking planet. It could just be a part of Nebulous that we didn't get to see in the television series. But in this one panel, it's literally one panel. You have Prime and you have Megatron high on a hillside, watching Hot Rod transform from car to robot mode, and his passenger transforms from smaller robot mode into his gun, his target master. Up above, you can see what definitely appears to be highbrow flying just out of shot, out of focus, who is obviously not a headmaster. And prominent in this one panel, small though it is Fortress Maximus making his way across the plane, Fortress Maximus being as huge as he is in the Generation 1 cartoon. This leads me to believe that this was a future on the planet Nebula. It is never mentioned, it simply was mentioned by Megatron as Prime, you've come. It seems to go that wherever you go to spread the word of peace and inclusion, I have already been and burned. Obviously, none of them could know that at this point Optimus was back alive after being dead for a stint, and Megatron was Galvatron. But that's all you see in Dreamwave, that one panel with what looks like Nebulos and a few Transformers we know are Headmasters and Target Masters both. But that's it in Dreamwave. Given the timelines and the continuity, they could not bring the Nebulons into it any earlier. We then go to the IDW comic book universe. They are number 3 on the list because, once again, the Nebulans aren't mentioned much. They're mentioned and featured more than in Dreamwave, but not by much more. We first get our taste of Nebulos, or Nebulon, once again, depending on what the lore is, Ultra Magnus, and the standalone comic of a Spotlight Ultra Magnus captures Swindle, and he's about to take him for process and hand him over to the DJD. And if you read the IDW comics, you know the DJD are not nice people. So what does he do? Swindle cuts a deal with Magnus and tells Magnus where Scorponok is. Magnus in this universe has been hunting Scorponok for quite some time, breaking like thousands of Cybertronian laws. One of the worst is he's been giving Cybertronian tech to species that are nowhere near evolved enough to have it. So the deal is cut. Swindle gets released onto his own accord. Magnus goes after Scorponok on Nebulous. I'm just saying Nebulous. I'm not going to keep saying both, right? I like Nebulous. I'm going to say Nebulous. There he is. He's on Nebulous, and he eventually does uncover in the Zarak Corporation. He discovers Scorponok working with the Nebulons who have been upgraded and enhanced with some Cybertronian technology in their bodies. This is a prelude to kind of Headmaster story later on in Maximum Dinobots, but doesn't involve any more Nebulons at that point. At this point, though, we have Scorponok. He doesn't like the fact that Magnus has found him and attacks him, but in doing so, attacking him, ends up accidentally killing Zarak. Zarak's like, no, stop, you're going to destroy everything we've worked for. Scorponok's already fired, tells him to get out of the way. Too late. Zarek is blown away. And, you see Scorponok and Scorponok just kind of lifting him, kind of like, you good? No? I'm going to kill you, Magnus. This is your fault. And goes for Magnus. Magnus, who basically shoots Scorponok through the head before he escapes through some sort of space bridge technology, wiping the coordinates, leaving Magnus once again having to hunt him down. We don't see Nebulos again until Stormbringer, where we find a bunch of pretender Transformers. Well, they're not pretender Transformers yet in this continuity, but they're growing their shells to become pretenders. They have resurrected Thunderwing. If you've read the Stormbringer comics, you know that Thunderwing was one of the big bads that brought the Autobots and Decepticons together for a time to fight Thunderwing, because he was just like Armageddon on legs. And being Armageddon on legs, yeah, they went about destroying pretty much all of Cybertron. It's why no one is on Cybertron at the start of the IDW comics. Cybertron's barren, the radiation's there, you've got the swarm, there's no one inhabiting it, there's no one there. Yeah, so during his trial phase, once they reactivate Thunderwing, they send him to, of course, Nebulos for a trial run to see how he does. And he gets there, and there's already a squad of Decepticons, an infiltration squad already there under the command of Darkwing and Dreadwind. And he gets there, and he just starts destroying everything that the Decepticon infiltration team has been working for. They have two choices: join the battle or flee. It is decided that the Decepticons all want another crack at the big bad, with one of the Coneheads being left behind. If we fall, purge this place and get out. So the Decepticons engage Thundering on Nebulous. The casualties are mounting left, right, and centre, both of the Nebulan population and the Decepticons, who get slaughtered. Thunderwing is unstoppable. He eventually ends up being recalled after he's done a certain amount of damage. Test run complete. I have blown everyone away. And he goes back. Nebulous is left in tatters, with the corpses of several Decepticons being left. Darkwing, Dreadwing, and that one Conehead, I think it's Thrust, are the only ones to escape. Everyone else has been stomped, blasted, or just ripped apart by Thunderwing. Number 2, and this will surprise some people, my number 2 here is the Generation 1 cartoon, because we only get them for 3 episodes. That's it, Nebulons, 3 episodes. After that, the Rebirth Part 1, 2, and 3, we don't get them again. Once the Japanese take over and bring out Transformers Headmasters, the Headmaster partners of Hardhead and Highbrow, Chrome Dome, Brainstorm, they're little robots. The entire Nebulan side story was scrapped. They're not part of the story. Nebulous, Nebulon, whatever, does not exist here. And if it does exist, it is never mentioned. Obviously, in the Rebirth, the Decepticons under the command of Galvatron go after the key to the plasma energy chamber, and they attack Autobot City. To this end, distract the Autobots with the battle while Wingspan and Pounce sneak in the back and take the key and get the hell out of Dodge. The Decepticons then all board Galvatron's ship and head for Cybertron, and then start laying siege to all the Autobots there in an attempt to unleash the power of the plasma energy chamber. During this, a team full of Autobots led by Hot Rod, Cub, and Blur gets hit by plasma energy in the back of the ship. Boom! And off they go, into hundreds of millions of miles into space, where they end up crash landing on a distant planet, Nebulous. There, they come under attack, unfortunately, from some Nebulan rebels who mistake them to be machines of the Hive being the top beings of Nebulous, an evil conglomerate of people who basically have developed their mental powers to control all machines of Nebulous, so that Nebulans serve the machine. Well, a bunch of walking, talking machines suddenly turn up. They think that's the Hive, because the Hive, though they have developed their mental powers, moved underground, their bodies are withered, useless. You basically see them all just sitting on chairs the whole time until they get their upgrade. But these Autobots are taken to the caves where the rebels hide, only for Cyclonus and Scourge and a cadre of Decepticons to show up. And that's when these Nebulan rebels think maybe we have been a bit hasty in our judgment. Because the Decepticons come in, the Autobots, just having been free, they're still going, and they hardly get shot. and captured because, the Decepticons want to know who's got the key, where is the key, we need the key. Galvatron's pissed. They take them and they go. And at this point, you don't have a lot of Autobots left to attempt to do a rescue mission, but Hardhead and the others, they do attempt it. They only get so far before the Hive's machines attack them. Then Gort, leader of the Nebulan rebels, he tells them the story that the Hive have taken over their planet, that the people serve the machines, and that, the machines, that they are the enemy. It's why they captured them. They are sorry. But, how can we help you? How can we help you rescue your friends? The headmaster process is born right here through Spike Witwicky. I never get the name right. It also is a bit of a factor because his son was injured in the attack, little Daniel. And so the only way to get him off life support is if they can find something more portable. Once again, the headmaster process seems to do this. He is paired up with RC. You get Gort, who's the leader, Arcana, the military strategist, Stylor, and Duros. They're like the leaders, 4 leaders of the rebels, and they join up with Hardhead, Highbrow, Chrome Dome, and Brainstorm, respectively, and they become the Autobot headmasters. So Cerebros ends up a headmaster later, but he's a headmaster to Spike. So for a Nebulon podcast, that doesn't really count. But yeah, they find the Decepticons and they kick their asses. They do, because the Decepticons are like, there's like 5 of you against all of us. Are you mad? And Brainstorm just goes, mad? Yeah, we'll show you what we've got. Headmasters, charge! And they start running at them, and their heads come off and transform into little people and start shooting all over the place. They're getting shot at from all directions. They weren't expecting that. Even after the element of surprise is gone, they're still getting whooped. Eventually, they have to run off. They have to retreat. They've no choice. And the Autobots rescue their comrades. The Decepticons, wallowing in their defeat, like walking off somewhere, are captured by some of the Hive's machines and taken to the Hive itself. Quite unceremoniously, they are basically just dumped in front of Zarak and the leaders of the Hive, who say, "Yeah, we want new bodies. So you give us your heads, or we'll torture you." Scourge says, "We don't make deals with organic creatures. That doesn't last." The Hive, Zarak and the others, all they just think it, and all these torture devices come out the walls and start torturing the Decepticons. So they give up. But Cyclonus is very clear on one thing: you can only have the heads of the animals. Zarek's quite curious. He's like, right, well, what do you 5 offer us? And he's like, the weapons, you can modify them as you would the heads. Zarek, I think that's a great idea. So they go ahead and they do the modifications, make the designs, and the Decepticon headmasters and target masters are born, all except for Zarek, who's working on a project himself. By this point, Optimus Prime has came to Nebulos, having found out the location from Vector Sigma and Alpha Trion, who has merged with Vector Sigma in season 2. He finds out they're there, he goes to meet them. By this point, the Autobots and Decepticons have fought again. The Autobots have lost the key to the Decepticons. Decepticons can't get off the planet, neither can the Autobots. And the Autobot target masters are then born. You've got Hot Rod, Cup, Blur, and the others all getting their own partners from the warriors of the rebel warriors, basically. The leaders of the headmasters and the warriors of the guns, and they go after them with Optimus Prime's assistance. And that's when we see what Zarek's been busy doing, what he's been busy building. He built Decepticon City. He built Scorponok, and he is the headmaster for Scorponok itself. It is huge. He basically captures RC, who's just literally got the key off of Scourge, eats her. The Decepticons board Scorponok, and boom, they leave Nebulos. The other Autobots decide, right, we have to chase them, but what can we do against them? Prime Race is like, we'll figure out when we get there. So they all board the shuttle Barspike, who stays on Nebulos with Cerebros to fix him. The other Autobots leave on the shuttle, only to find the Cybertron is gone. During all this, Spike and Cerebros find the lost city of the Hive, the one they used to inhabit before they developed their mental powers and moved underground. They use that, so they're able to remote control the city. Obviously, this one wasn't used because it was before the mental powers, so they had to do it manually, do everything manually. Spike does it and starts building Fortress Maximus, which we don't see till later. After this, we don't really see Nebulos again until the very end, because Scorponok's on Cybertron, Fortress Maximus turns up on Cybertron, they battle. The plasma energy chamber is opened. The Nebulons are able to reroute several key systems, and Spike Witwicky himself is able to shut it down, but too late for the Sun. The plasma energy is overloaded. That he has had the Nebulons. What they were doing was retrofitting a rocket that got Cybertron to Earth in the first place. So its manual instructions were from the output to intake, and it sucked up the extra energy. It went into Vector Sigma. It revitalized Cybertron, and we once again have the Golden Age. At the end, while the Decepticons and the Decepticon Nebulon hybrids are off in space somewhere, we have the Autobots returning to Nebulos. The Autobot headmasters and target masters on board Fortress Maximus, where Optimus says, "We'll rid this world of the Hive's evil, and then you can live here in peace as its protector," to Cerebros, who thanks him and says, "Thank you, Optimus Prime. It's a miracle." And you see the Decepticons flying through the air, flying through space, and they are gubbed. It's like Galvatron sitting going, "I can't believe we actually got this flying junk pile stabilized." Zarek's having a go at him because Zarek, though smaller, not a transformer, has about the same ego, right, as Galvatron. They're a dangerous combination. And Galvatron's like, "I will rule the galaxy. Me, Zarek, who will rule the galaxy? Me, it is my destiny. We shall see, Galvatron. We shall see." Of course, we don't really see, at least not like that, because that's it. That's the end. It was a three-part called The Rebirth. My number one for Nebulon lore has to be the Marvel comics from the 80s. We do get a lot of Marvel comics, and eventually it's almost as if the writers went, "Right, we don't really know where we're going to keep going with this. So we're going to give you a 4-part Headmaster mini-series to break up the monotony here of Transformers on Earth, Transformers on Earth, Transformers on Earth." And you see all the Transformers you usually have from the Rebirth fighting each other on Cybertron. Fortress Maximus and Scorponok, it should be mentioned at this point, are both normal-sized, well, they're still big. They're normal-sized Transformers, not city-sized Transformers. Fortress Maximus takes a load of Autobots off Cybertron who no longer want to fight a war. They're done. They want peace. So they leave. Where do they go? They go to Nebulous. After a very rough start with the Nebulon ruling council, the rough start being that, a bunch of giant Cybertronians have what they see as an invasion of their home planet. Fort Max and the other soon-to-be headmasters, the same ones from the cartoon, give up their heads as a sign of peace. It's like, "Here, take our heads. It's like the one thing we can give you that will mean it's a meaningful gesture to you." Zarek and Galen, leaders of the Nebulon people at this point, take this as a sign of good faith. Galen more than Zarek. Zarek's playing along. Galen, who is the headmaster partner of Fortress Maximus in this, he finally gets his Nebulon partner. He's younger. He's what Zarek would call more naive to believe these alien robots. But he sits and goes, "Okay, fair enough. We'll let them stay. Have your way, Galen." So of course the first thing he does is go find an interstellar communicator and calls in the Decepticons, doesn't he? Not realizing who he's calling, he's just basically saying, "Listen, these robots are here. I think they're dangerous. Please come to our planet and stop them." Scorponok, of course, picks up, but along with the other soon-to-be Decepticon headmasters and target masters, and says, "No problem. We'll come. We'll be there. Just give us your coordinates." So they turn up, and then Zarek thinks maybe this was a mistake. But the thing with Zarek is he's quite smart. Scorponok is not so smart in this. Zarek was always more of the brains between them, because Zarek is actually able to reverse psychology Scorponok basically into thinking it's a good idea to do the whole headmaster process in the beginning. And it turns out Zarek and his followers, they all end up headmasters, target masters, and it's great until Zarek himself realizes he's losing what makes him a Nebulon. When his daughter is put in danger, and this Scorponok side of him does not care. It's like she's a flesh bag. Let her die. And Zarek's not happy with this, and he realizes, right, I've made a mistake. But I no longer have the willpower to fight this overwhelming presence of Scorponok. The personality is just too powerful. he releases the Autobots are able to fight and escape. They save the Nebulans first, then they fight and escape, knowing that the Decepticons will follow them wherever they go. It's the last good deed that Zarak is able to do independently before he's not really a slave to Scorponok's will, but Scorponok's will dominates him. It turns him more uncaring, more unfeeling. I don't care about my daughter. I don't care about my people. I want power. I want conquest. And he says that to Galen as he's freeing him. Listen, this is the last thing I'll be able to do. I can't help you after this. After this, we will be enemies. There is no going back, and it is my fault. And Galen then has to make the sacrifice because the daughter has obviously come back, having told him, "Oh, you were locked up. My father was right about you. Oh, all these years, I don't like you." And all of a sudden, she's back to Galen, going, "Was my father really a bad guy this entire time? What have I done? What have I done?" And then Galen basically tells her, "Get to obviously in a nicer way." But he doesn't want to do that, but he does it so that she's able to let them go, so no one tries to follow them. After that, you don't really see Nebulos for a while because the fighting obviously is back on Earth. And the headmasters obviously go there because they've picked up a distress call from Goldbug at this point, and they go there, the Decepticons follow them, and there are a few interesting comics, where we see the birth of new Decepticon headmasters, new Decepticon target masters. Same with Autobots, and it's never really clear where these Nebulons came from. They're Nebulons who have made these new headmasters and target masters, but they just seem to have appeared. I mean, space bridge technology is not as near as advanced here as it is in any other comics. And it doesn't seem to really be around anymore as of the last seasons of the Transformers. After season 2, you don't really see the space bridge again. Yeah, and you have a few nice wee side stories. The next thing you properly see Nebulos is after a fight between Blaster and Grimlock for leadership of the Autobots. It's a long road. There's a long story there. As is, no more Nebulos again. I mean, we have Nebulons. Obviously, we still have Target Masters and Headmasters out there. We don't really see Nebulos again. Not for a while, anyway. During the Unicron War, there are some casualties. I mean, we see at the very least Hardhead get blown away. We see Brainstorm get eaten. We see Scorponok get melted. Several Headmasters and Target Masters bite the dust in the Unicron War, including Power Master Optimus Prime. He releases Haikyuu before he sacrifices himself to stop Unicron. So, having done this, we don't actually, like I said, we don't see Nebulos again in the original run of Marvel US comics. We just don't. But then thank IDW. They bring out Regeneration 1, which is a continuation from the last comic brought out in the series, but set 20 years hence. We do get a wee glimpse of Nebulos in this. It shows that though many Autobots and Decepticons were destroyed during the Unicron War, the Nebulons still had the original heads of all the original headmasters and are building them new bodies to reattach the heads. We get, Highbrow and we get Hardhead. We get, I can't remember why they rebuilt Scorponok. That was a mistake. But we got all these, characters back that died. And it's quite a nice thing. It's like you thought, once you've been eaten by Unicron, as usually you're gone. Obviously, they can't bring back the Nebulons that died alongside the Transformers. But we do see many Nebulons working on building new bodies, and eventually they get to building a body for Fortress Maximus, which we see. Then we see something like slink into the back of his head, like some sort of kind of globular energy being thing, which is explained in the comic, and basically makes Fortress Maximus go bananas. He comes through the space bridge, shoots Optimus Prime, blows away a lot of humans, takes Prime over the shoulder, and goes through the space bridge again to who knows where. At the end of the comics, once again, we see Nebulos, but we see Nebulos and Earth. Both societies are now working together in concert to help each other get over everything they just suffered. But that is why I think, personally, the comics just beat out Generation 1 cartoon for the Nebulons. well, we get to see a lot more of them. We get to see a lot about character growth, about character development as the series go on. That's pretty much all the Nebulon lore that I can think of. It wasn't in the War for Cybertron trilogy. I don't think it was in Further Primes or Combiner Wars or anything like that. I don't think it was in any other cartoons either. So like once they were done for that little bit there, I mean, Nebulons in the comics, they aren't even green, they're white, they're like humans. They couldn't even agree on a colour. That is officially done with species from the proper Generation 1. So my next podcast will be the descendants of the Generation 1 Transformers. We are going to be having a look at the Maximals. Until next time, this is Mega Ginger saying take care, roll out, keep on trucking, and I will see you next time.